Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of Termite's Buzz, episode 21 to be exact. I am your host, Termite, and this is a weekly video game podcast running through the trophies and games I'm currently playing, some video game industry news, and wrapping up with a little retro video game discussion at the end. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope to find you well. This week was kind of a short week because we had Memorial Day kicking off the beginning, so I hope that your Memorial Day celebrations were good. The video game industry was kind of quiet this week, so we do have some good news things to talk about. I'm coming at you with yet another exhausting week. Lots of things going on. Having 2 children and 2 full-time working parents continues to be nuts. But I'm not sick. I was able to put together a pretty good workout week and enjoyed some of the outdoorsy, summerish weather here in Virginia. I did a little cookout, some pool time with the family, and had a chance to have some drinks outside, so it has been good. Outside of that, I don't really know if there's anything worth going into as far as non-gaming related or updates on my life. Usually I'm exhausted or sick, and I'm not this time, so that's really cool. I'm happy for that. And we're gearing up to go camping this weekend, so I may or may not be late next week in getting a show out the door because we're supposed to come home Sunday when my episodes go live on Monday at midnight. So if I don't have time to record next Sunday, then you'll know why the show will be late. It'll still go live on Monday. It just won't be at midnight like it usually is because I won't have had time to turn it out in advance. So there is that. I did get a chance to go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it is absolutely one of the best movies I have seen in a very long time. Absolutely incredible. It blew away all my expectations. It was like working me up emotionally in ways I didn't expect or even think I would be able to. So absolute a blast of a movie. So if you have a chance to see that or care at all, I think it is way better than Enter the Spider-Verse, which was the first one. This is the sequel. There's going to be a third one, Beyond the Spider-Verse. I cannot wait to see that now. So, I went and did that. Took some time away by myself to go to the theater and pop that out. I did get popcorn, pun intended. Popcorn was awesome. And I'm loving my MoviePass. There we go. I'm going to talk about MoviePass because I did some things with MoviePass that I didn't realize you could do. So MoviePass was revived, in case you didn't know. It was shut down in like 2019, 2020, the pandemic. I don't remember exactly when, but the company went bankrupt, as everyone predicted, because it was a completely unsustainable model where you pay $10 a month and you can see unlimited movies at movie theaters. Well, like movie theaters were fighting back and not accepting the credit card payments, and people were, of course, exploiting the system and seeing multiple movies per day and getting tickets for their friends and families and like all for $10 a month, right? So as MoviePass progressed from like 2017 on, I don't remember when it launched, they started putting restrictions on it. And before you know it, it was 1 movie a day. And then it was like certain movies were eligible. And then it was down to like certain showtimes of certain movies at certain theaters. And then it finally just went bankrupt, as everyone predicted. But anyway, it came back. There was a beta test soft launch not too long ago, but I think it's publicly available now. And I absolutely loved MoviePass. I was a member since the beginning of the first time around, and I stayed a member all the way until the company dissolved completely on its own. I never canceled my account. And then I jumped in on the early access of the new resurrected MoviePass. And now I have gotten way more than my money's worth. There's now like tiered subscriptions that allow you more freedom and more stuff. But the gist of it is, and I have like the basic subscription, it's $10 a month. You get credits per month on your account now. And you can see, movies up to you spend your credits, and that's about it. So you don't have enough to see a single movie every day. I think the $10 a month plan gives you 34 credits a month, and a movie that's new, like Spider-Verse Matinee on opening weekend, would cost you 20. So it's almost like 1 movie per month, or like a movie and a half. But your credits roll over from month to month, and I do think they expire eventually, but you can bank some credits. So I had like 60-some credits from 2 months' worth of movies. I had more than that, actually, because I hadn't seen anything. I'll get there in a sec. So I started in January. It's June now, so I should have like 180 some credits worth of things to spend, and I have seen some movies on MoviePass, so I've been using it. I saw Dungeons and Dragons, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I saw Across the Spider-Verse, and I actually bought a ticket for Fast X on my own because I did it in advance to pre-order my seat for a Thursday night show. But that's beside the point. I'm excited to be back in theaters. I absolutely love movie theaters. I've always been an advocate of it. I love the curated, perfect experience you get from a 4K projector and a perfectly tuned and calibrated surround sound system that is awesome. The lighting, the environment, everything is perfect and flawless to make you disappear from your world for 2 hours. It is the biggest immersive experience you can get, I think, than anything else. Maybe virtual reality with a noise-canceling headphones might actually take you out of your reality, but every time I go see a movie, I almost forget about my life outside the movie, and then it's almost like I fell asleep, and when you come out of the movie, it's like waking up from over, you're like, what am I doing today? Oh, right, I have my life and all the things that I have going on. So anyway, I love MoviePass, but I didn't know this. You could do this. So the app has a limited amount of showings from limited theaters, etc. But I figured out that that's kind of irrelevant. So when I went to go see Across the Spider-Verse, for example, I fired up the app from home, and I saw that there was only the 12 o'clock showing available at the local Regal here in Charlottesville. So I look at Regal Cinema's website, and I see that there's an 11 o'clock showing. And I was like, well, that's more doable. So what you can do, and I experimented with this when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with my wife. So I should use that as the example. Same kind of deal. There was only the 8:30 showing was available, but we needed to see it at 7:30. So I showed up to the theater and I checked in on the app by selecting the 8:30 p.m. time slot. Though I was going to go to so you check in and it prompts you and says, go buy your ticket. So it uses GPS location to make sure you're close to the theater you're trying to get a ticket from. So granted, it's 6:45. And I'm going to buy a 7:30 p.m. ticket, but I checked in for an 8:30 p.m. ticket, and the app let me do it. So I checked in, went up to the kiosk, so I'm not talking to anybody, used the touchscreen to pick the 7:30 ticket, and when it prompts you for payment at Regal's little kiosk, I swipe my MoviePass card, and voila, I got a movie ticket. The times didn't line up at all, so I chose the 8:30 in the app, and I bought a 7:30 p.m. ticket. Great. Then I was like, can I do a second one? Because there's two of us, my wife and I. So I did the exact same process again and paid for a second ticket with my MoviePass card, and it worked. You can buy more than one movie at the exact same time, back to back. I had the credits. Like I said, this is a credit system now. So I had banked credits from month to month of not using it, and I bought 2 tickets to Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with MoviePass and saved $40 because those tickets were $19 and some change a piece. Absolutely amazing. I did the exact same thing with Across the Spider-Verse. I checked in for that 12 p.m. showing on the app, but I was going to actually go see an 11 a.m. showing. It worked flawlessly, no problems, but I was by myself, so I didn't need a second one. And so now, within the last 3 weeks, I have bought, and that was a $15 ticket, so I have now bought $55 worth of tickets on, and that's within 1 month period, 1 calendar month, that is $10. So MoviePass crushing. That is an unsustainable model, I imagine. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to continue paying into this because I need to go see more movies. In fact, I have a list of movies for this year alone that I'm extremely excited to go see. Next up is Transformers: Rise of the Beast that comes out June 9th. There's a Jennifer Lawrence movie that I want to go see with my wife, No Hard Feelings. I had Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny on my list, but it got a 4 out of 10 online, and it's not doing too well review-wise, so maybe skip that one. There's a new Mission Impossible movie that has a whole documentary on Tom Cruise's stunt where he jumps on a motorcycle off of a cliff and skydives down into a cliff base. Crazy. Of course, there's that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie coming out August 2nd. I gotta see that. Gran Turismo comes out August 11th. That looks amazing. And that's it for the summer. And then we have Dune Part 2 in November, and we have The Marvels coming out in November. So that's my own personal list of movies that I modify. In fact, I'm going to take Indiana Jones off that right now. Keep it up to date so I can keep track of what's coming out when, so I know what I want to see. And that's just the big hits. Anytime I want to just have some time and go see a movie with MoviePass, I can be I'm out of here, and I'm going to go see a movie. And it could just be like a random Oscar bait movie or something that I didn't really know. Anyway, that's Movie Pass. Thank you for hanging out with me through that, because I'm excited about it. I think it's awesome. If you're on the fence at all about seeing movies, go check out the new and resurrected Movie Pass. The cheapest tier system seems to be working for me, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of bang for my buck. But I did bank like months of credits because I didn't really see anything from January through March at all. So I had like 3 months of credits that I'm kind of saved up for the summer. So even if it's already paid for itself, right? I paid $55 worth of movies in the last single month, and then I just listed all the other ones. And with matinee prices being $15 and like primetime prices being $20, absolutely crazy. Just insanely expensive to see movies these days, and don't feel bad about the $10 a month being able to go to a theater and knock out a whole bunch of movies and get my value, which I feel like is awesome. So I'm glad Movie Pass exists. Who knows how long that will last. What have I been playing? What's up? What is Termite up to video game wise? Well, everything is about Tears of the Kingdom still. That's pretty much it. Had some family over for a birthday, and we played some VR. That was fun. Continued to dabble in Beat Saber. Did not dislocate my shoulder, but definitely made them very sore trying to get some trophies. Not trophies, but try to get through some of the levels in the campaign. One of them involves moving your arms. I may have talked about this last week, so I'm not going to go into it. But most of my gaming time is all of it is Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't had any chance to play any retro games. I haven't had any chance to play anything else. I've just been playing Tears of the Kingdom, making my way through the game, having a blast. Every time I pick it up to do something, I always get distracted by something else. It's absolutely amazingly designed in such a way that facilitates being distracted, and it doesn't feel like I have this overwhelming list of things or chores to do like The Witcher 3 kind of does, and Hogwarts definitely does. This game does the same thing, but way more intelligently or like subconsciously to you. So as you see like a shrine in the distance, you're like, oh, I'm going to go after that. Like on your way to that shrine, you're going to like fight some enemies. Maybe you'll get knocked out over a cliff, or there'll be a thunderstorm that will cause you to change your weapons. And then like in the course of whatever action you have to take to react to something, you find something else. So you're like, oh, an NPC over here. Oh, a quest. Oh, that'll be quick. Let me knock this out real quick on the way. And then you do that. And you usually haven't even got to the shrine yet. Like an hour's gone by. All you want to do is get to the shrine. The shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are what you do to get more hearts or stamina. So grinding shrines is very important. Just hopping around. There's over 150 of them in the game. I hope that's not a spoiler. Lots of shrines to get. And that's not even included like, oh, I'm just going to go run around in the depths. Because, all of Hyrule's Underground is available to just, like, search and explore and get distracted with. And then there's the whole skyline or sky islands. So every time you find a tower, you can launch yourself into the sky. Or you can use a recall on a block that falls from the sky. I've been working on upgrading my gear. So I actually have been looking some things up online, like how to fill out some of the gear sets. There's a gear set that helps you climb faster. That's from Breath of the Wild. There's a Zora armor set that helps you swim faster. That's also in Breath of the Wild. So I want to have those things just for the utility purpose. But there's also some other gear sets that help you in the depths, and another gear set that helps you in the sky islands for getting around that are very practical. So I wanted to collect the sets and then upgrade them. So you have to find the Great Fairy Fountains. You have to do all these things. I'm also loosely going after the big memories, like the story beats. There's 12 of them, so you have to find them on the map and do some things, and it gives you a flashback, and you can get the story much like Breath of the Wild did. And then, of course, there's the main 4 dungeons or temples, and I've done 3 of the 4. I've done the fire, the wind, and the water temples now. So I guess the last one is a lightning temple in the Gordu Valley. So having a blast. It never stops being fun. It's always good. I'm always excited to play it. It's awesome. So I'm hitting the point now where I'm about 60 hours of playtime in, and I kind of want to get to the end. So I'm starting to look things up now a lot more. It's exactly what I did with Breath of the Wild. I started with I'm not looking at anything else at all. I'm just going to go and do what the game wants me to do and just figure it out. And then I did that for 30 hours, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to start honing in on what I got to get done, because there's other things on the horizon. And that would be Diablo 4. Comes out this week. Tonight, if you're listening to my show on Monday, it comes out tonight at midnight. If you had early access, it's already out. I'm looking forward to playing it. I'm going to pick up my copy hopefully at 9 p.m. on Monday, with an early access GameStop release thing. Instead of the midnights, they've been doing these 9 p.m.s, which is nice, but it's not confirmed. It's just the guy that worked at the store said, we might do it. So I'll be waiting for a call to see. If not, I'll pick it up on Tuesday and get it installed because it's physical, as I always do. And I'll be ready to play it with my squad. Squad up, never roll alone. Play some Diablo 4. I'm looking forward to it. There's already a patch. It's going to be one of my news beats later. Diablo 4 patches and issues with that. So yeah, no trophies in June yet so far. I'll probably get some Beat Saber ones as I play, but way behind in platinums, way behind in trophies. The whole trophy game is just escaped. It's just gone. Like Hogwarts was so boring and such a slog. Star Wars Jedi Survivor was fun, but Zelda came out right when I had finished the story of it, so I didn't get a chance to go back and complete the trophies. I was working towards the platinum because I'd finished the story and did some things afterwards to get started in the final trophy grind, following PowerPix's trophy guide. Step 2. Step 1 would be to finish the story and get all the abilities, because it's kind of like a Metroidvania, so you need to unlock everything first before you really start digging into the collectibles. And so I started Step 2 to get... There is some things upgrades that help you reveal things on the map, and that's essential for exploring, getting stuff done. So I've been working on that. But Zelda pulled me away. I haven't gone back. So big game, lots of exploring collectibles. Hogwarts is big game, explorable collectibles. Those are my last 2 platinums that I was going to get. And then there's Horizon Call of the Mountain on PSVR 2, which I now have a hack for the PlayStation VR 2 to help with the eye strain issue that I've been having, thanks to Reddit. You can take a beanie, like a head beanie that you would use to keep your head warm, and you roll the front up a second time, so it's double thick, and you put your headset over that, and it still lines up your vision just fine, but the angle at which the lenses beam the light into your eyeballs is different enough to help with strain. So my issue was that my eyes would just hurt. I know motion sickness symptoms are nausea or tiredness or dizziness, lightheadedness. I get none of that. I had 0 of that. That's fine. But what I did get was my eyes would just hurt. And the only way I can describe it is imagine moving your eye, keep your head still, or we are through. I said this already because that was a Blink-182 quote. I did this last week. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. We're going to move on. So anyway, Horizon Call of the Mountain. I haven't got the platinum in that yet because of the eye strain issue. And I'm all over the place today. So trophies are a bust. They continue to be a bust. And in the back of my mind, it's kind of bothering me, but not enough to change anything yet. So I said this last week too, but I picked up the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy. So as soon as I finish Zelda, I've got something next on my Switch to play. And I also need to finish Bayonetta 3. So my backlog is strong, and my trophy list is behind. And life goes on. That's just how it works. But now I'm going to move into news, the news bit of my show, where I talk about gaming industry happenings. And this week is a big week for video game industry news, because, not what I have to say, what I have to report is actually not that big, because this is last week's news reported now. What's coming is Summer Game Fest 2023. So I'm going to read Polygon.com's Michael McWhorter's article, How to Watch Summer Game Fest and What to Expect. And I will paraphrase or whatever as I read. Summer Game Fest 2003 will stream live on Thursday, June 8th, promising new game reveals, announcements, and world premiere trailers. Host Jeff Keighley says more than 40 companies spanning game developers, publishers, and hardware manufacturers will be at Summer Game Fest to show off what's next. As for what viewers can expect, Summer Game Fest organizers have only offered a few hints. Mortal Kombat co-creator Ed Boon will be there to show off first gameplay from Mortal Kombat 1, and Remedy's Sam Lake will show more from the studio's upcoming horror game, Alan Wake 2. Given Keighley's history of game reveals, it's also likely we'll see something from Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions' Death Stranding 2. Developer CD Projekt Red has also promised new details on the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion, Phantom Liberty, in June, and our last look at that DLC came at Keighley's The Game Awards in December, so news from Night City seems likely. Expect Keighley to tease more about the show's lineup in the lead-up to that fest. What time is it? Summer Game Fest streams live on Thursday, June 8th from YouTube Theater in Los Angeles at noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. The show will be streamed live on Summer Game Fest's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and via Steam. For the rest of the other big gaming events happening this summer, Polygon will have full schedule of the, quote, non-E3 and Summer Game Fest live streams. So lots to look forward to. I know I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. So interestingly enough, this is kind of the first year now where COVID's not a thing at all. So Summer Game Fest actually started with COVID. So summer of 2020 was when Summer Game Fest started. And each year after that has been primarily a digital event, hence why the streaming stuff. And E3 coming and going. That's a whole conversation to talk about, like what's going on in the industry, and is E3 still relevant, and everybody pulls out, is it still valuable, what's going on with the ESA, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm excited about this Summer Game Fest because it might be in person at the LA, we'll be able to watch it. It is going to be in person, YouTube Theater, and people are going. So it is in person, and folks are talking about going. So if you listen to Kind of Funny, if you listen to What's Good Games, if you follow these industry people from IGN, Polygon, etc., GameSpot, their folks are going to this event in person, and that's just going to make it different. And Jeff Keighley will be on stage in front of people, and that will be awesome. They kind of did a hybrid in-person event last year, I remember, and I kind of get the Game Awards and Gamescom Opening Night Live and Summer Game Fest, which are all three of Jeff Keighley's big shows each year. I kind of get them all mixed up with when in the pandemic they became hybrid in person and not. But anyway, I'm beating that point like it's nothing. Anyway, I'm excited. In person, people are going to be there. There's going to be an audience cheering, live, electricity, energy, all of those things that happen. This is the replacement for E3 for me, so I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to tune in on Thursday at 3 p.m. and watch the entire thing. Hopefully I'll have a lot of excitement and hype to report next week's show. If you are not going to watch it and you just kind of want my Cliff Notes version here on the podcast, I will find an article that has everything announced, and I'll just run through it and give you all the stuff. Personally, I'm extremely excited about everything that's been hinted at so far. Mortal Kombat 1, the big reboot for Mortal Kombat. I've always been a Mortal Kombat fan. I've preferred Mortal Kombat over Street Fighter. I think I have every Mortal Kombat entry, all of the mainline ones, pretty sure. If I go back through my collection, I can verify that later. Alan Wake 2 I'm excited about because Control was absolutely phenomenal, and I know it's in the Alan Wake universe, and that showing they had at Sony's showcase last week was awesome, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. And of course, Death Stranding 2. Everyone should be excited about that because Death Stranding was one of the best PlayStation 4 games. Great PlayStation 4 swan song. Just awesome. I liked Cyberpunk 2077 despite all of its craziness around its launch, and so I'm looking forward to more content in that world. It was ported to PS5, and I started that PS5 version, and I thought I would have the excitement and energy to play through it again, and I don't because it's a big game, so I did not. But at least there's a native PS5 version that I've transferred my save to that I could pick up Phantom Liberty in and jump in right where I left off from the last game on PS4. So it'll be fun. Yeah, I'm excited. I want to see more. 40 people. That's a lot of entities. That's a lot. And there's a list. I'm not going to read them all. But hopefully we'll get some of those the things we lacked in the Sony showcase, the Sony PlayStation showcase. We can get updates from some of those developers here, specifically like Naughty Dog, like what are you doing? And the other missing studios from PlayStation, Sony Bend, they were teasing some stuff. And so what's Santa Monica working on now? What's Sucker Punch working on? Those studios. And Microsoft has, right on the heels of that, their developers showcase again on June 11th. It's actually like, what is it called? June 11th, Microsoft Xbox Games Showcase, Sunday, June 11th. So Thursday and Sunday, I'm probably not going to be able to watch the Sunday showcase live because I'll be camping, so I'll have to come back and watch that when it's done, and I'll also be reporting on that. So Termite's Buzz next week could actually be quite big, and it might just contain all of those announcements and updates. If they're big and exciting enough to merit that, that's what I will do. And if you hate it, then riot and tell me how much you hate all of that. You can do that over at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's my landing website with links to all of our social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter. We have a Discord server. There's links to everything there, and you can find me there. And you might be wondering, the show's called Termite's Buzz. Why did you redirect me to 80-Bit Podsmash? Well, 80-Bit Podsmash was the podcast that I had started with Penguin, Dan. Both of our names were Dan, so we're Penguin and Termite, and we did a dual show for over 5 years. 6 years maybe, never missing a beat, and we took a hiatus, so Termite stepped in with a solo show, and I've been doing this now for 21 weeks, and the future of 80-Bit Pod Smash is still in discussion as to what's going to happen. So if you go to the website, 80bitpodsmash.com, and I might be saying it too fast, so 80bit pod smash, PODSMASH.com. If you go there and you follow us on social media, you will be kept most aware, up to date of what's going on, the comings and goings, and we'll answer your questions there. So also we have like a Twitch page and excuse me, we have a Twitch page and a YouTube page, and sometimes we stream live things occasionally. So if you subscribe us over there on those platforms, you can also be made aware of when we stream. The latest stream I did was the unboxing of my PlayStation 3 Frankie mod, so you can go check that out, video on demand over at our YouTube page, as well as every week's podcast goes live on YouTube, so you can listen to it there if you want. Anyway, next news item on my list is this weird announcement from Nintendo of a sequel to 1-2 Switch. If you remember that launch title, it's called Everybody 1-2 Switch, and Video Games Chronicle reports, an article here written by Tom Ivan, Nintendo has announced Everybody 1-2 Switch, and it's releasing this month. The party game sequel can be played with Joy-Con controllers and smart devices. Set for release on June 30th, the title is a follow-up to 1-2 Switch, which was released in March 2017 as a launch title. The game, which Nintendo has reportedly been sitting on for over a year, is now available to pre-order from the eShop, and it's priced at $30 or $29.99. Get together in groups and compete in a host of weird and wonderful minigames featuring everything from balloons to aliens and more, reads the official product description. In those games, you'll use your Joy-Con controller or smart device in fun and unique ways, earning points for your team. In time-honored fashion, the team with the most points gets to claim the glory. Nintendo said it plans to share more information about the game in the near future. Fanbyte first reported on Everybody 1-2 Switch last June. At the time, it said the title had a game show-like theme and might support up to 100 players. Rather than simply adding more minigames for the sequel, it's claimed Nintendo EPD Group 4 wanted to set the new game apart from its predecessor, which supported up to 2 players. It's said to have eventually settled on a direction inspired by Jackbox Games, developers of the Jackbox Party Pack series, which includes a variety of games playable by large groups using phones, tablets, keyboards, or controllers. Fanbyte claimed the game featured a bipedal horse with the appearance of a man wearing a rubber animal mask who acts as a host and commentates on some modes, including the flagship Team Battle mode. Seemingly backing up the report, this character is featured in a promotional image released by Nintendo. Minigames were said to include musical chairs, bingo, and a take on Spin the Bottle, which players must compliment other people. However, feedback from playtesters was reportedly extremely negative, with families with children labeling the game tedious. Some of Fanbyte's sources claim Nintendo's executives were committed to releasing Everybody 1-2 Switch as a $60 retail product and believed the game just needed further development time and testing, while other employees reportedly raised the idea of releasing it as part of a Nintendo Switch Online's expansion pack. The original 1-2 Switch is currently priced at $49.99 on the eShop. That's that. So that's weird. Very strange indeed. Came out of nowhere. It was never officially announced in any of the Nintendo Directs. There's ample opportunity to announce and showcase this game, but as the end of this article read, it seemed like it was not being received too well in playtesting, internal playtesting at least, and so it was being sat on, and then they just need to get it pushed out. And this is like the end of the Switch's life cycle. I mean, we had Tears of the Kingdom is a huge release, and we know Pikmin 4 is on the horizon. Don't know what the status of Metroid Prime 4 is. This game definitely was not on anybody's radar, and so here it is. And that Advance Wars 1+2 Switch, the remakes, was also delayed for the Ukraine war, and out of respect for the world and there being a war. Obviously, that was a good move, a good PR move for Nintendo to delay that game, but that came out right before Zelda did. So, like, there's nothing left. There's no future. Like, there's nothing on this. Like, we got nothing. So what other games is Nintendo sitting on? But this is just strange because it was in, quote, development hell, right? For lack of a better description. It was like it was tedious and it wasn't received well, but they're just going to push it out in this quiet fashion on the eShop. Suddenly it just shows up and people found it and then started reporting on it. And then there's no big hubbub, no big announcement. They're just going to let it kind of squeak out there and fall. I don't know what's going on over there. But there it is. So if you're interested in that at all, I'm going to keep my eyes on it because I personally like the Jackbox party games. I think it's a lot of fun to get family and stuff involved without having 1,000 Joy-Cons and a whole like setup. It's like, just go to your phone, go to the browser, go to this website, put the code in, and play with us, please. And everyone can jump in and have fun. So I'm interested to see more about that when it comes out, June 30th. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth updates. This has been exciting. So I'm actually going to read, because I need a landing spot. I need something to read or like a site to like cite, but I'll probably just go on a tangent. But from Polygon's writer Toussaint Egan, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer checks in with vague promise it's still on track. So Square Enix has been awfully quiet lately about when it comes to development of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second installment in the developer's planned 3-part Final Fantasy VII Remake project that began with 2020's Final Fantasy VII Remake. Rebirth was announced a year ago, with very little said since then. On Friday, Yoshinori Kitase, the game's producer, told fans that not only is the game's development progressing smoothly, the development team will have a release date to share with them soon. I'm guessing Summer Games Fest. That's Termite's little injection. There's probably going to be a trailer. We want to get Final Fantasy 16 out, right? That's what Square Enix is really pushing for Final Fantasy 16. It's coming out June 22nd. It's a huge release. They're like trying not to cloud, pun intended, cloud the release of Final Fantasy 16 with another big Final Fantasy game coming on the heels. So I think that's what's going on here. I think it's just go quiet, make the game, do it right, get Final Fantasy 16 out the door, and then start teasing Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth to get fans excited for what's going to come after they've finished with Final Fantasy 16. So anyway, there's a tweet from the Final Fantasy VII Twitter account that says, question, how is development progressing on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Answer, development is progressing smoothly and according to plan. We are currently working on nailing down a release date for the game. And there's been more since then I'll get to. We haven't seen or heard anything from Square Enix with regard to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth since the game was revealed back in June 2022. The game was initially announced to be released on PS5 during the next winter, placing a potential launch date around late 2023 or early 2024. So if you follow The Flock or us and you know that on our fantasy critic, I think Penguin has Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as one of his picks, and we were all like, doubt it's coming out this year, don't think so, but you can pick it if you want, it's going to be good whenever it does release. So the question of its release is definitely heavy. Still, even now in June, we're in the second half of 2023, and we still don't know when it's coming. So developer comment number 2. So the article's done. So now, if they've tweeted since then, I want to share those with you too. So the Final Fantasy VII Twitter account, developer comment number 2. How will players journey through the world outside of Midgar in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Big question here. We know Midgar's very linear, even in the original launch of Final Fantasy VII title, like the original game. Like Midgar is a very streamlined, not really like able to jump between towns or points in the game. There's things that are shut off, points of no return. Like Midgar just moves you through a very amazing introduction through in a linear fashion. So what will it be like once you get out? Because when you leave Midgar in the game, in the PlayStation 1 title, you can go anywhere you want. And oftentimes you find yourself fighting enemies that you're way under-leveled for, and you'll die. But anyway, the answer is players will be able to journey across the wide and multifaceted world with a high degree of freedom, experiencing a myriad of different stories along the way. So is this going to be a Final Fantasy 15, 16-esque open world? That's what it sounds like to me. That's crazy to think about. You can go wherever and anywhere. Are they going to keep the old school way of controlling players by putting huge over-leveled beasts in areas you're not supposed to go yet and kind of guide you to the next city, which is calm? I don't know, but I want to know more. How many side quests are there? What is the myriad of different stories? Are we going to start seeing NPCs and like how Shinra is affecting the world more than just what we've experienced in the original remake, which was awesome because it fleshed out a lot of that stuff from like the people perspective, what's going on to society, what's going on in the little towns and stuff. Oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited. The third post, there was yet another Twitter post. What are some of the key things to look forward to in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth story? The answer, players will witness a chain of narrative developments that lie at the very heart of the Final Fantasy VII story while discovering each character's destiny. Okay. So, we know at the end of the original remake, some things changed from the original game, so we're on a different path now, slightly, right? And I'm not going to spoil all that stuff. Go play the remake if you haven't. We've now played Crisis Core. We being like anyone who's kept up with the Final Fantasy VII story. We've played Crisis Core Remake, and that was awesome. And we know how things changed, and those are related. Trying to stay spoiler-free. Discovering each character's destiny is going to be good, so I'm excited about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mean, this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? This is the middle of the trilogy. This is where things get real, and stuff's not resolved. And it's a perfect answer. Discover each character's destiny. Are we going to actually do it? No. Probably not, because you're going to say that for the third part. But we'll at least have all of the chips set up so we know where everyone's headed and what's going to happen. I'm so excited for this game. I can't wait. I'm in, and I hope we get a release date at Summer Game Fest. Jeff Keighley, please deliver. Please. It'd be great. Next news story. What really happened with Redfall? So Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, a legendary journalist in the video game industry, does amazing expose articles and writes incredibly detailed, thoroughly researched, and cross-checked with high integrity articles about stuff in the gaming industry. He used to work for Kotaku. So glad he left that terrible site, and now he is on Bloomberg. But Bloomberg is a paid site that I don't have a subscription for, and I can't get the primary article, unfortunately, or the article from the primary source, and he is very verbose, so it's very long. Jason Schreier has also written some books that I've read. I highly recommend. Press Reset is one of them, and Blood, Sweat, and Pixels is another. I highly recommend both. They are fantastic books if you want to learn about the comings and goings of the video game industry. Anyway, I digress. He posted an article about, and of course that means he did research and talked to a lot of folks about what was really going on with Redfall and Microsoft and Arcane Austin and all of its stuff. The review obviously was not received well. It did not review well. And there was the whole debacle with, not debacle, but the whole hubbub with Phil Spencer's interview with Kinda Funny and his apology and how he felt about the whole thing. So this kind of shed some light from the inside on what's going on. So I'm going to read an article from Destructoid written by Eric Van Allen, posted June 1st. It's kind of a synopsis. It's like a higher level article. It's not going to give you the nitty gritty. You can find that at Bloomberg if you want to pay for it. I also tried incognito mode. It didn't work. Some staff apparently hoped Microsoft would cancel or reboot it, is what's going on. So Redfall had been pretty notable stumble out of the gate for Xbox and Arcane. Today, a new report shed some light on some of the behind-the-scenes tension that led to Redfall's troubled release. Bloomberg's Jason Schreier has published a new report diving into the development of Redfall, which began in 2018. As the article outlines, it came from a goal of chasing games as a service, as ZeniMax reportedly urged developers to implement microtransaction. At Arcane Austin, the team set out to create a multiplayer vampire shooter, Redfall, under the co-directors Harvey Smith and Ricardo Bear. But as the story outlines, things got muddy. Staff members told Bloomberg they found the pitch of multiplayer Arcane game confusing. It was compounded by shifting references to games like Borderlands and Far Cry, which apparently left departments with varying ideas of what they were creating. As Schreier writes, the tension between single-player and multiplayer design went unresolved. The studio was also understaffed. Arcane Austin was already small for a live service production at less than 100 people. Sources tell Bloomberg that even with additional support from ZeniMax's Roundhouse Studios and other outsourcing, the gaps couldn't be filled. Turnover kicked up. The report states about 70% of the staff that worked on Arcane's prior project Prey left during Redfall's development, and a mixture of lower-than-average salaries and the prospect of moving to Texas reportedly made staffing up difficult. Via Bloomberg, some Arcane staff hoped that following the acquisition of ZeniMax and Bethesda, Microsoft might cancel Redfall or allow the studio to reboot it as a single-player game. Instead, Microsoft took a hands-off approach. Xbox head Phil Spencer would later say in an interview following Redfall's launch that the company didn't do a good job early in engaging with Arcane Austin. Side note, Termite, reported on that a couple of weeks ago with Kinda Funny's interview with Phil Spencer. How it was one of the takeaways that I got was that Microsoft, Phil Spencer, was all about leaving the creative control with the studios, not coming in as a new entity and taking over and directing everyone differently, which I thought was a great idea, and I actually touted that as a success point for Microsoft's acquisition at the time. But Phil Spencer was saying how they didn't engage Arcane Austin and give them and pour into them the resources that Microsoft would allow them to have. So side note over, back to the article. Redfall absolutely fell short of expectations. While I still found a few slivers of things to enjoy in its world, I can't say I'm really eager to go back anytime soon. For Arcane, I hope this Spectre doesn't hang overhead too long. So, there we go. History kind of repeats itself, and I cited those Jason Schreier books earlier, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels and Press Reset, and those two books are a lot about the the video game industry is volatile and unreliable and ever-changing and fickle, and money needs to be made, capitalism, etc., etc., and microtransactions and games as a service are where publishers make the most of their money. It's the safest investment. It's the highest return of investment, the lowest risk. It's what everyone's kind of chasing. As far as monetization, we've seen it everywhere. The story is true and old as time with games in modern 2023 in the modern day. And no secret, no surprise to me that Redfall was internally discussed to be or have some sort of games as a service, and then not. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. So there it is. That's what's going on with Redfall. I'm not surprised, and it seems like Microsoft is made aware of it. Kudos to Sony for sticking with the tried and true single-player epic experiences and continuing to have success and make money off of those. Nintendo's doing the same, so I just hope that mostly like the whole games as a service, multi-transaction type games or microtransaction type games are the third-party developers that are launching games across all platforms, and that makes sense because you're capturing the audience of PlayStation, Microsoft, PlayStation or PC, and maybe Nintendo, but then you're capturing their entire engagement as well, and so you're getting like Fortnite it's everywhere. It's on phones and iPads, and all the skins, all the microtransactions you're collecting because you have such a wide net. You cast such a wide net across multiple markets that you give so much ridiculous, stupid amounts of money. And so I can see why Arcane, Austin, I guess ZeniMax was trying to capitalize on that. And that's your typical like developer creative direction disconnect with money and capitalism, and ZeniMax being the publisher. So, no surprise. It's a bummer. It always stifles creativity, and it ruins folks. I mean, you saw 70% of the studio left. Prey was absolutely amazing, and it was not talked about enough, and I'm only just citing reviews. I have not personally played 2017's Prey, but I've heard it's awesome, and some people had it as their game of the year. So it's unfortunate that the creative minds behind that game all left because of this microtransaction, games as a service, misdirection, and tension between creative direction and money. It stinks, but that's the way the game industry works because we live in a capitalist society, and that is that. What are you going to do but pick up Diablo 4 when it comes out? Because Diablo 4 reveals patch notes ahead of the game's full release. Game rant. James Radcliffe posts, with the full launch of Diablo 4 right around the corner, Blizzard released the patch notes for version 1.0.2D of the game, which brought some class balance changes and bug fixes. While not every ongoing issue was addressed, Blizzard stated on social media that it will keep listening to player feedback both during and after the launch of Diablo 4. To start the month, Diablo 4 entered early access for those that purchased the digital deluxe or ultimate editions on PC or console. However, players that purchase the standard edition will have to wait a little longer to play the game. While the early access period for Diablo 4 was marred by major connection issues and some bugs that cropped up, Blizzard stated that it is monitoring issues as they arise and issuing fixes when possible. The patch continues that trend, with a focus on class balance prior to the game's full release. According to Blizzard, Diablo 4, this patch looks to turn down the effectiveness of certain builds and some Paragon glyphs, while bolstering some skills and builds that have been underperforming. In a previous fix, the overpowered Gar's devastating grips for barbarians was disabled while Blizzard worked on correcting problems with the unique item and ability. And it goes on with more. Lots of patch notes, lots of the Necromancer minions and Druid companions received a buff in their defenses as they will take less damage. Some other Necromancer abilities received some buffs because we heard that Necromancers were underpowered, which is good because I wanted to be one. Paragon glyphs were nerfed 34%. And it goes on. So I just think this is hilarious. The reason why I even talked about this, I find it hilarious, quote, in the ironic sense, because folks out there, this whole pre-order game thing with this monetization of pre-orders and this capturing of early engagement, the public beta, the pre-order now, and get early access to all this stuff, and like get the digital upgrades, the expensive things, and buy now and buy early, and you get a buggy, underperforming game, and it's unbalanced, and beta test it for us. So you're paying a company to be a beta tester. That's not how this works. The company pays you to test their game. You don't pay them. It bugs me. It irks me. I don't like it. You spend $70 on a game that's not finished so that you can play it for 3 or 4 days before its release and give the company all of your data and feedback and jump into the communities and give you a chance to help them fix their game before it comes out. I think it is predatory and unnecessary. I wish games would just release when they're supposed to be fixed, do it the correct way, get the player feedback after the game comes out, honor folks who buy at full price on day one, and give them something that's, if I wait and don't play Diablo 4 for like a year, I'm going to get a way better balanced, way more polished, more content-filled game for a cheaper price, theoretically, if I get it on sale during the holidays a year from now. And that's not fair. Late adopters paying way less should, it's backwards. Like, the people who buy early, who come first in line, should get something more than just like a skin, or I don't know. It bugs me. I don't like it. I want the game to be complete on the disc, whatever that version is, from day one. And I think everyone kind of agrees, right? We don't want a buggy game at release. There's no value or reason for it. Let's just, so here it is. That's why there's already a huge patch that does balance changes before the games even came out, based solely on early access players' behaviors and feedback. So it's been out for 4 days. The development team started a patch. Boom. They made all these tweaks. And, well, there you go. I guess the rest of us who buy the regular launch edition basic model game or version of the game or whatever get to benefit from those who pre-ordered the game and spent a lot more money in it. So thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all players who spend more money on a game to get early access so that I can have a better game for a cheaper price. It's great. And with that, as I mentioned before at the beginning of the show, I haven't really had a chance to dabble in anything retro at all in my gaming collection. But I do have a thought that's bubbling. I've got a couple of thoughts. And one is, as the Nintendo Switch is ending its life cycle, as we come to a close in it, as Tears of the Kingdom is one of its swan songs, I want to compare it to other past Nintendo consoles for as far as the major software releases and its remembrance. And I like to harken it back to when I was a child. The Nintendo 64 came out when I was 10 years old, and I was the perfect age to really experience and let that sink in. I am so happy that I was able to experience the N64, Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, and the revolutionary changes and the impact it had in the gaming industry, and live that out. The pure excitement and engagement at that age for those types of games was just awesome. And I feel like as an adult gamer, I can appreciate these things from an intellectual level, but when something big and new comes out, I can buy it and I can consume the game. I'm kind of doing this with Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm so progress oriented, and I need to have the things, and I feel like adults are kind of like this, at least the people that I talk to. There's not so much free play. There's completionists, and that's great. There's adult gamers who are completionists. They want to do everything in the game. They do all the side quests, they do all the things, and they want to check off all the boxes. But there's a childhood wonder and experience of just being in the world that has zero focus on actually achieving anything the game has to offer. And I was able to do that with Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, where I'm just wasting time, not actually doing any. I could play for 4 or 5 hours straight and not actually advance the story at all or do anything or collect anything. It's just nothing, just playing, just engaging with it, having a good time. And I love that I had that experience on the N64. But I think this is obviously a sliding scale. So I was 10 years old when the N64 came out. What did a 10-year-old during the GameCube's release engage with the GameCube? How did that go down? What about the Wii? Gen Zers were children when the Wii was a success and when the Wii was out. And they have a whole different perspective on games. In fact, the N64 is kind of clunky and low frame rates and hard to control versus like the modern day games. So I want to go back and like look at some of the major hits across the different generations of Nintendo hardware as the Nintendo Switch is over and done, and kind of see like, where are we? What's the difference? Like, what's the comparison? Is the Nintendo Switch as rememberable as the N64, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, the GameCube, right? Or the Wii and Wii U, 3DS, and all this stuff. So I don't know how all that's going to come together, but it's a thought that I had, and I need to find some articles and like do some comparisons, like find some definitive lists of software, because I don't have everything for all these consoles, so I don't know what the best of the best is off the top of my head. I could probably do a pretty good job of starting a conversation like that, but I wouldn't be able to like dive in. So I want to try and do that. I don't know when that content will come out on this show, but at some point I will do that. And I would like to do a PlayStation 3 big retrospective. I've got a book that I kickstarted that should be coming in August. So I'll have like, I'll be reading that consumed with PlayStation 3 memories and like be able to speak to the book and kind of in remembrance of all things PlayStation 3. So look out for those. Sorry I don't really have any retro discussions for today, for this week. Life is nuts, and Tears of the Kingdom is great. So there's that. With that, hope to find you well next week. I look forward to reporting on the Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Games Showcase. I look forward to those events. They're going to be awesome, and I will have all of my thoughts, responses, and reactions to those things next week. So with that, see you next week.